After making a $25,000 short film, one question I've been asked many times is, how do you raise money for short films? Well, that's what we're gonna go into in this video. Here's my best advice from over 20 years of making short films about how to get that bread. Now, the first thing to know about financing a short film is that unlike feature films, people are not generally willing to pay money to see a short film.
You gotta be kidding.
No, this is a movie that a lot of couples come to.
And for that reason, putting any money into a short film is very similar to putting it into a black hole from which it will never return. Therefore, you should look at investing money into a short film not as something that's going to make you money or your investors money, but something that could potentially advance your career. So with that out of the way, how do we do it? 5 ways. Option number 1, pay for it yourself. This is the one that I've done the most in my career, and it's just the most convenient, assuming you're able to get your hands on a little bit of money. You can make this easier for yourself by simply making your short films cheaper. Use, instead of cash, favors. Get your friends, your family, other filmmakers you might know, and a little bit of money can go a really long way in your short film. All right, so you can't pay for it yourself. Option 2 is you team up with a group of other filmmakers or collaborators, and you collectively finance the film. This is what I did when I made my first feature film, Bad is Bad. It was gonna be a $6,000 budget, and I was a broke college student at the time. There's no way I could raise that much money. But with the help of my 2 friends that were producing it with me, we were able to scrape $2 grand each over the course of a year and pay for this film. Now, the key thing to keep in mind when you're finding other people to invest in a project like this with you is, what are they going to get out of it, right? Usually it's gonna be an opportunity for them to get experience or credit in a new role that's going to pay off for them later. Or maybe they have a big project coming up and you can volunteer your services on it for the whole thing. Just be creative and try to come up with ways that your short film can be beneficial to them. And if that's no good, then there's always option 3, crowdfunding. So I've done 2 successful Kickstarter campaigns, one for 12 grand for my second feature film, and one for 6 grand for that expensive short film that I was talking about. They were both a ton of work, and they were both very nerve-wracking months, since the way Kickstarter works is you either get all the money or you get nothing. That said, I still prefer the model of Kickstarter, where it's all or nothing, versus Indiegogo, where everybody who invests, even if you don't meet your goal, you're still gonna get that money. Because people are more willing to invest when they know that if you don't meet your goal, then they won't get charged for their donation. And if you're gonna do a Kickstarter, here are my suggestions to help you have a successful campaign on there. One thing that I did for both my campaigns is I shot a sample scene or trailer of the project, and I put a lot of resources and time into this sample scene. A donor can come, look at the trailer, and immediately they see how serious you are about the project, they see how talented you are, and they can see your vision for the project in a way that, just a written page on your Kickstarter site will never be able to do. Another thing I did was intersperse the text of the campaign page with a lot of clean graphics, titles, and things like that. You just don't want a big chunk of text that nobody's gonna read. So try to break it up and make it visually interesting as you scroll down the page. And probably the most important tip I can give you is that you need your first day of your campaign to be a big day for donations. When people come to your page, see it for the first time, the first impression is everything. And if you're on day 2 of your campaign and they click onto your page and they see, oh, there's $4 raised out of a $10,000 budget, they're just gonna move on. They're gonna feel like this campaign is a loser and it's not worth my time to even read the whole thing. On the other hand, if it's day 2 of your campaign and you have 40% of your 10 grand raised already, they're gonna get excited about the project much more easily and be much more willing to donate. So how do you get a ton of momentum on day 1? You gotta plan ahead of time. You gotta make a list of who you think your big backers are going to be and send them an email a day or 2 before. Tell them the exact day and time that you're gonna launch your campaign. And of course, you don't wanna word these emails to be pushy at all, but you're just gonna say, we're launching this campaign, your donation would be so appreciated. And if you are able to donate, if you can do it on the first day of the campaign, right after we launch, it will give the project so much more momentum and will make the biggest impact in our campaign. So you're basically just begging people to donate as soon as humanly possible if they are going to donate. And then when you actually launch your campaign, send out another email just reiterating that you're now live. Hopefully you'll get some big backers right off the bat and you'll get that momentum going. Another bit of advice I learned from doing my first campaign: send personalized messages. Do not send one mass email to everybody that you've ever met in your life. You'll have a much higher success rate in getting donations. Then you should be continually posting updates while your campaign is live. Tell them about new people you've added to your team, new locations, gear, anything you've got that will get them excited, and encourage them to either increase their donations or spread the word to people that they may know who may be interested. And the last thing about crowdfunding campaigns, use these wisely, because you're really only going to get 1 or 2 of these in your career unless you happen to have a large fan base of people that are really eager to support your projects. For most of us, we're just going to be going to like friends and family, things like that. So they're going to get annoyed pretty quickly if they're paying for every single one of your little passion projects. And that brings us to option 4 for financing a short film: investors. Ah, yes. What if somebody just gives me the money to make the film? So there's a few different types of investors for short films. One is the investor that's looking to put money into a project in exchange for an executive producer or producer credit so they can gain credibility in the film industry or the indie film world. Usually they're only going to do this with a filmmaker that has a track record and an upward trajectory, because they're only going to invest in the film if they believe it's going to play at some decent film festivals, get a lot of attention, and therefore give the project prestige and themselves credibility for being attached to this prestigious film. For a first-time filmmaker, it's pretty unlikely to find an investor like that. But if you have any previous successes, it's very possible to get investments from these people. We had $2,500 just donated, not even invested, in our first Kickstarter campaign for our second feature film, based on the success of our first feature film. It was by a complete stranger, put in $2,500 for that executive producer credit. Similarly, on Will the Machine, we had somebody donate to get that executive producer credit, and then he ended up executive producing a short film I made, Hawaii, and paid for the entire thing. So that's option 1. Option 2 I'll cover really quickly because it won't apply to most people, and that is getting your short film commissioned by a platform that makes short films. Somebody like Crypt TV or Adult Swim. They will commission short films sometimes, but obviously to do that, you're gonna need some inside contacts or just have so much talent, such a great track record that they come to you. So again, not very useful for first-time filmmakers, but that brings us to the third type of investor, which is small or local businesses. Now these actually can be a gold mine. When I was in high school, I had a local real estate agent give us $200 to put her real estate yard sign in the background of one of our shots. That was easy money. In high school, my friend's dad worked for a yellow book company, and his branch had to make a short film that was funny that could kick off this conference they were having. And they didn't want to do it, so they just paid us to come up with something and shoot it. That was the first time I was ever paid to make a short film. Now again, with these local businesses, you're gonna have to be creative and think about what are they going to get out of it. So if it involves their business, it can be free advertising, it can be something funny that they can show off to their employees, and it might be a tax write-off for them too. So think about that and try to leverage any connections you have to local businesses to your advantage. And if none of those are working, there's always the fourth type investor, which has probably invested in more short films than any of the other types of investors, and that is the rich uncle. Now this type of investor is ideal for the first-time filmmaker, but you still have to do everything in your power to present your project to them in the most professional and serious manner that you can. The more your relative feels that you're serious and passionate about this project, the wider they're going to be willing to open that wallet. So even if this is somebody that you're really close with, consider making like a PowerPoint or a pitch deck to show off your project. Whatever you do though, if you get an investor for your short film, do not lie to them and do not mislead them about the thing I talked about in the beginning of this video, which is they are putting their money into a black hole from which it will never return.
I've waited years.
It's not coming back. What you can tell them and what you should plan for is that you will put this film in front of as many people as you possibly can to get it as big of an audience as you can. Okay, and before we go into the fifth and final option for raising money for a short film, I do want to say stick around to the end of this video because I'm going to tell you something that's very important to know before you raise any money for a short film. But the fifth way to make money for a short film is to take out a loan. And it's very ill-advised, but I have done it before, and it paid off really well. My producing partner and I split a loan from lendingclub.com, which is like an online loan servicer that's really easy to use. And we got a $10,000 loan for our short film, Will the Machine. Now, we owed, I think, $310 a month for 3 years to pay it off. We were splitting it between the two of us, so it only ended up being $155 a month for each of us. And, you know, we were earning passive income from our first feature film, Bad is Bad, so most months we didn't even feel it or notice that we were paying for this loan. However, I'd say if you're gonna do this and split a loan with somebody, be very careful about who you do it with. I would never have done this with somebody I didn't trust completely because it'd be very easy to just like have a falling out with your producer and get left paying off the rest of this loan by yourself. And obviously taking out a loan to pay for a short film is not at all like a sustainable way to pay for your projects. It is more of a, you know, break glass in case of emergency way to get your film off the ground. So I will never do it again, but it was very handy for that one time I needed to break the glass.
It's worth it, as long as you get the results.
All that said, before you go focusing on raising all the money for your short films, you should be doing absolutely everything in your power that doesn't require that money before you start raising the money for the short film. Because it's gonna be so much easier to convince people to chip in for your project once they can see, oh, you already have your cast, you have your crew, you have your locations, you have your shot list, you've gotten all these revisions on your script, you've built out a schedule. All these things that make your project seem like it's so close to being real and the only thing that's holding back is just this chunk of money is gonna make people want to invest in your film or give you money or go in on the project with you, whatever. If you want to see all these methods put to the test, check out this video on my $25,000 short film, Will the Machine, where I talk about how we combined a few of these methods to raise that big budget. Subscribe for more and go make your films.